systems go. Clear for liftoff. Little technical difficulties there. What's up, everyone? Tyler Tamboline here, a.k.a. ToeTagginTambo, and we're back for another edition, the Week 16 main slate here on the Ship It Nation YouTube station. Do us a favor on the way in, hit that like button, and got to get us the subscribes going. We got an emergency right now, 911. If you go check it out, 9.11, 9,110 subscribers, so we're on that path to 10,000. Appreciate all the support throughout the year. The goal was to get there by the end of December, so little shy, but if you can make sure we get the subscribe, that helps out a ton as well. And Merry Shipmas and Happy Holidays to all those out there. We appreciate you. Got my guy Hoopster here with me, Title with me like always. We're back for the main slate. Hoopster, I'll bring you in. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Yeah, not much. Got a full 11-game slate. We got obviously Christmas Day games coming up. It's a fun time for NFL. I talked about it a little bit on the show yesterday. I mean, it just seems like it's NFL slate one right after another. We got 2 gamers, we got 3 gamers, we got showdown, we got full slates. NFL is kind of showing its dominance and saying, hey, we'll just we'll go as many days as possible, crush all these other sports. It was fun 2-game slate tomorrow, and then like you said, we got Christmas Day, we got a 3-gamer on Saturday. I mean, it just never ends here. We're rolling right into the playoffs. PGA's right around the corner. If you're a PGA player, we have a little a promo that we're going to release and talk about here at some point as well. It's fun times in the fantasy sport industry. But big slate today. A lot of ways to go. Excited to break it down with you guys here.
Title, I'll bring you in, man. It's another. We're getting to the end of them, but the free money Sundays, they still exist. And this looks like a good one. I actually really like this slate when we get to breaking it all down. A lot of good games to talk about, and people are sort of stuck on certain things. So hopefully we can help them through it all. But what's going on, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I'd agree. I'm doing well. I think it is every Sunday is a good slate, but I think there's plenty of options. You know, people are really spending down at quarterback, spending down at tight end, a lot of concentrated stuff at running back, couple at receiver as well. So I think plenty of pivots, no total, above 47.5. I believe only 2 dome games, maybe 3. I know FanDuel, they do include the Sunday night game. That is in a dome, but yeah, not too many big totals. Of course, weather starts getting a factor this time of year, but I'm not seeing too much right now. So excited to dive in and talk about it.
Yeah, I'm going to lean on you for the weather. I know you always got it up and ready to go over there. So if you've got that tab, remind us as we go throughout. But I think, like you said, that's sort of the good part. Every slate is certainly a good one. This one is nice, I feel, because we know what people are comfortable doing. We sort of know where they're landing because of that. And the more we know going in, hopefully the more it can help us move our way up those leaderboards. So, Hoop, I'll kick it to you before we get into any of the promos, that sort of thing. Just a grand scheme overview for this slate. What are you thinking about it? How's it shaping up on your side?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we've had this slate like a lot of times in a row here. Like there's been a lot of main slates that are pretty similar. There's a lot of really good running back plays that we'll get to. At quarterback, people are looking to kind of hit that mid-tier range a little bit, and that allows you to obviously spend up at other spots. So I think a lot of these mid-tier quarterbacks are going to get some ownership and potentially more than we're projecting. Wide receivers, we have a couple studs, we have some injuries, we have some underpriced guys. It just seems like a similar slate that we've played many times. And I think there's definitely some situations to take advantage of, some injury situations to take advantage of. That's kind of my main takeaway. Another slate, I think, especially on DK, where the expensive quarterbacks are definitely going to go overlooked for the most part. On FanDuel, it'll be a little bit different. It's easier. It's always easier. We talk about on the cash show. It's always easier to get the expensive quarterbacks on FanDuel opposed to DraftKings, which is kind of a little bit ironic just because they've done a much better job pricing the skill position players like the running backs and the wide receivers. They've done a much better job all season, but just the way it shakes out, it's always easier to get the expensive quarterbacks on FanDuel opposed to DK. But on DK, they're going to come in low, and I think that's definitely a talking point. And I continue to go overweight. It worked out, last week, Josh Allen. The week before, it worked out with Josh Allen, and ownership on Josh Allen on DK is coming in low again. I think the main reason we see that is because we talk about all the time, the pairing is awkward. People want to stack their quarterback with a pass catcher, and it's awkward. And now he has another, Keon Coleman's in the mix. Last week, it was Ty Johnson that got it done. So, stacking anytime a stack is kind of awkward, people just stay away from it. So I think that's definitely a talking point on the slate. The Jalen Hurts, situation, he's going to be low owned. People probably avoid Jaden Daniels as well because the Eagles defense has been very solid all season long. So I don't know, my main overview is I think this is a very similar slate that we've played. Like it seems like the last 5 main slates, and you guys can kind of add on to that or give me your take, but it just seems very similar. I mean, there's 8 to 10 running backs that everyone wants to play, a bunch of cheap mid-tier-ish wide receivers, and then everyone's going to want to go mid-tier at the quarterback position. So that's my thoughts before we
I love it. And I'm going to flip it to title on those thoughts. I think the running back is the big conversation. We kind of know where everyone's going everywhere on this slate, it feels like, especially even when you get to tight end, we know like everything we know. But one thing I want to kick to you, Titles, is it definitely feels like people are not comfortable with some of those fragile running back spots where it still could be a really good spot. Like Garindo is out. A running back cannot stay healthy in San Francisco, yet it doesn't seem like it'll even cross 10% for a guy like Patrick Taylor. Maybe on FanDuel, where he's 4,800 and people see it that way, but on DraftKings, it certainly doesn't seem like it. In the land of Las Vegas, where you've got a pretty good team total for the Raiders for once, and it's like Madison or Abdullah. People don't want to make that decision. So what it does is it leaves all the quarterbacks who've said out of commission pretty much as far as ownership goes. Like nobody can get to them. The A.J. Browns of the world aren't getting ownership. The Saquon Barkleys, even a guy like Jamar Chase being kept in check for the most part versus what we've seen. So it's like everybody's going to that mid-range build. And even somebody said Josh Allen naked. I just did this with Mayo on Friday. The thing about that is you still, even when you start filling in the quote unquote comfortable plays, you run out of options. And then it's what Hoop said. You end up having to pick your poison of Keon Coleman, Kincaid, something. And then when that doesn't feel comfortable, people just bail on the lineup. So it's a really interesting slate. But what's your thoughts at running back specifically? And then anything else you see with the overview?
Yeah, the overview, I'll start quick with like there's no really wide receiver value. Like I don't think we've really had it since Booty, and Booty wasn't even good wide receiver value. People figured out real quick, like why even mess with that? So it does feel like Hoop's saying, spend the same type of build, save at tight end unless you're playing McBride, saving your mid-tier quarterbacks, jam in, and like the running back position, it's Chase Brown and Gibbs. But there's still, like you said, a lot of other starting running backs on the slate. I always love Bijan. James Conner's a workhorse. If you do want to go cheaper, you have starting running back like Madison, Patrick Taylor. Now their roles aren't as secure, but yeah, I mean, we're playing 11-game main slate at the end of the day, or is it 12, 11?
12 on FanDuel, you got 11 on
12 FanDuel, 11 DK. Yeah. So, I mean, there's clearly a lot of ways to go. Chase Brown, how do you leverage that? The Jamar Chases of the world. Gibbs, how do you leverage that? You can obviously play the Amon-Ra's of the world. Obviously, you can eat chalk as well. You can overstack stuff. I do obviously think Chase Brown and Gibbs are very strong plays, but by no means am I locking them. I think there's plenty of other running backs. Your lineup should tell a story. Like, if you already got a low-owned stack, etc., you can eat more chalk, etc. So, the running back room, though, Chase Brown, Gibbs, obviously very strong plays, project very well. How many times do we see stuff like that bust? It feels like Kamara, every single week he's chalk, he busts. So, running back room definitely strong, but I think I'll definitely be playing some teams that are fading one of them and making low-owned pivots.
The chat is killing me. Nothing like some strange booty. They said when you mix those two together, there's your value plays of the week. So, but we have Penix at 4,500 at quarterback. We have the Gibbs situation. One interesting note on the Gibbs thing is I don't think he ends up, we'll see in high stakes, but I don't think he gets to like Hubbard levels of last week because Hubbard was pushing almost 60% in the high stakes. I think it was 58 in the live final, for example, but he was 6,500 and Strange was 2,500. Strange got a slight boost to 3,500. Gibbs is 75. He's going to be extremely popular for sure, for good reason. And we all can't wait for Craig Reynolds to come in and score 2 one-yard touchdowns and then still watch as Gibbs gets 25 and gets there. So we're good on that. I think that's kind of the setup of it, Hoop. But anything else, Hoop, you took away from that you want to go into? If not, I'm just going to pull up quick, talk about the gifts that keep on giving. I'm going to talk about that quick over at Ship It Nation.
Yep. So we're done. Are you pulling up the
I'll pull it up there so you can see. But you want to run through the first one, the first couple here?
Yeah, so we still have BF50 Black Friday. Like you said, the gift that keeps on giving. It's a good gift. A lot of times when people say the gift that keeps on giving, it can be used in a negative connotation. This is in a good one, where our promo code's still active, BF50, and the NFL season, people are probably like, oh, well, why would I sign up for All Access? Well, that's because PGA is literally right around the corner, starting, I think, at the beginning of the year, the first week potentially, and we have a PGA team that is off the charts. And we're not just gonna run back what we had last year. We've been working hard to improve what we're doing PGA wise. Obviously, the merger with DGen and his team last year. It's not just DGen. Obviously, we got DGen 75. Great, James is awesome to have, but he has a team behind him, and these guys are grinding their asses off all the time, working on PGA stuff, working on improving the stone, improving the projections. The showdown stuff is off the charts for PGA. I mean, it truly is. We always talk about it. A lot of these sites, and I don't think people realize it, they'll just run their standard main slate projections all the way through round 2, round 3, round 4. And like, it's wild to me because so much changes throughout the course of a tournament. Weather, where they are in the standings, tons of different factors. I mean, weather and where they are in the standings are the main two, but there's other factors that go into it. These guys are making massive adjustments round by round, and that's why you saw last season in the PGA Showdown streets, basically every slate, there was some sort of Ship It Nation, DGen logo at the top. A lot of people have the combined logo, the Ship It Nation, DGen 75. Just about every single showdown slate, they're at the top because they're using our tools, our projections to get there. And again, these guys are putting in super hard work. So the reason I say all that is All Access. It's a great time to get in and just lock in the All Access price using the code BF50. If you just want football, we still have the football rest of season package. Cheapest, most affordable, all in, 99, gets you all the way through. And it's all these slates. It's the two game slates, 3 game slates, main slates, showdown slates, all the way through the Super Bowl. If you want Shiptimizer with that, 129, and then you can kind of hop into the new promo that we're launching. I guess today, right? Effective today, immediately.
Yeah, effective today, and it will be another gift that keeps on giving. I thought you broke that down great. That's kind of the setup, but we do recognize, and we have a lot of people that stick with us for PGA, or are you on an NFL package now looking for what's next? Gary asked it here. When is the official start date? The Sentry is January 2nd to the 5th. So it's right around the corner. We're wishing everybody a Merry Shipmas and a Happy Holidays, but we probably won't see you as much for this stuff. The golf shows will start to roll out here soon with DGen, and then Hoop and myself and all the content that I showed off up at the top. And we'll get through the marketing stuff quick, but I do want to show you because it's important. Now is the time. Make sure you guys get the best deal possible, and we put that together for you. So you'll see it here. The annual package is $399 for PGA. The annual package with Shiptimizer, which includes Classic and Showdown. I should note that we are bringing FanDuel projections in as well. So this will change and take that away. Ownership will still be just on the DraftKings side to start, but we are getting FanDuel projections, the big major tournaments, things like that. But the promo is this, and we let you wait long enough, but this is by far the best deal that you're going to find anywhere when it comes to PGA. Here's the deal. You don't even need to put in the code. It's already built in. So that $399 will come down to $299. The $449 will come down to $349. It's $100 off the annual package. And starting today, you will also get free all access right through Super Bowl 59. So if you were already thinking of the NFL only package or the all access or whatever it might be, but you were going to stick around with us for PGA anyway, this is by far the best deal. $299 or $349 for an annual PGA package, and you'll get all access to the entire site through Super Bowl 59. So it's all the showdown slates, all the football, all when MMA comes back, the NBA, NHL, college football through the playoffs or whatever's rounding out there. So just everything that you possibly could want. Hoop, anything you want to add on that before we keep it moving?
Yeah, I mean, a hell of a deal. I mean, obviously, you sign up for PGA. A lot of people are hardcore with DFS PGA. I mean, that's probably the biggest growing DFS sport in the last couple of years. You see a lot of these DFS sports potentially going the opposite direction. NFL, PGA are always strong, and PGA continues to grow. And like I said, our team that we built, I mean, we put in a true commitment to PGA DFS, and it's not just about one guy. You see other sites, selling the fact that, oh, you need this guy's projections. If you don't have this guy's projections, you're going to lose. Well, people disappear in this industry and go on their own and do things separate from where they were previously at. At Ship It Nation, we have a big team of guys, a big team of people working on this, and PGA is going to be a huge commitment for us this upcoming season and moving forward. So when people tell you you need these projections or you need this guy's projections, don't believe them. This is your home right here.
Yeah, love it. Nick, Go Collect in the chat mentioning it. And then Joanne, I appreciate that. We always want to take care of our founding members, and that's been a thing. This goes to show, right? Anybody who's in from the beginning has certainly been taken care of for their support, so we appreciate it. All right, Title, I'm going to kick it to you, man, on the first game. We've talked enough. We've got the Browns-Bengals, and I'll let you start this one off. The Bengals is sort of one of those spots, I guess, back to Hoop's original point, if you look at it, and I mentioned the Chase stuff, but nobody wants Higgins. He's in pretty much same range as some of these other guys. Chase being kept in check, and then Joe Burrow not really being looked at all at 7,500. So give me your thoughts on this first game here, Browns-Bengals.
Yeah, I wish it was Jameis. I even like the Bengals stuff more, but at ownership, I definitely like the Bengals stuff. And I do not like the Browns stuff. At like 0 runbacks for them. Bengals side, so many ways to go. Chase Brown, obviously one of the chalkiest spots on the slate, rightfully so. Since Zach Moss went down, his role been one of the best in the NFL. Really good running back himself too, explosive, catch the ball out of the backfield. I think he's like minus 210 to score or something crazy. Good play. I like Joe Burrow a lot. You can obviously play Chase Brown with Joe Burrow because he can catch passes out of the backfield. You can also, if you want to leverage the Chase Brown stuff, you can go Burrow with just Chase, Burrow with just Higgins, or Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, and look at their ownership. Chase is definitely getting some, but I mean, I will, you know what? Yeah, Philly said it. I'll give a little sneak peek. Scarface, our guy over here, he has little Jamar Chase as a slate breaker. Great. Scarface, an absolute great DFS player. Does some content over here, so check that out. But wanted to shout that out. Higgins looking at absolutely no ownership. And in Burrow stacks as well, I'm good with Mike Gesicki. Now, the snaps count is really low. I always hate that. The Drew Samples of the world, Tanner Hudson's of the world. But when Gesicki is on the field, he's like another receiver. Usually plays in the slot. Burrow's always looking for him in the end zone plenty too. So 3%, 2%. He's a pivot from these other cheap guys some people will be going to. I like it. I also like Bengals defense. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is awful. More of a running quarterback, can make a lot of mistakes there. Easy fade Brown stuff. I will be playing a lot of Bengals and checking that Burrow, Higgins, Chase ownership. I definitely will be playing Bengals, and I'm good again. Over playing Burrow with 2 of the 3 or 2 of the 4, I should say, and not playing any Browns on the other side.
Yeah, Tillman out again, Hoop. Any thoughts on the Cleveland pass catchers or anything going on there? And I think, did they announce David Njoku yet? I know it's trending like he's going to be in, but just want to make sure he was back at practice on Friday. So, yeah, so I think he'll be in, but we'll wait and see, and we'll have the update this morning once we get our next update in. But give us your take on this one, Hoop. Go ahead.
Yeah, Njoku, yeah, it's so officially questionable. I don't know. It sounds like he might be in. A lot of the same as what Title said, and the one thing I did want to point out is last week, very high in the Bengals stuff last week, the passing stuff, and it was on pace to smash. And then I think it was, it was on pace to absolutely smash. And I had it on my main team, loving life. I was like, all right, we're good to go. Well, when you're playing the Titans and Will Levis, a pick six is always looming, and a pick six when you already have a lead will just shut the shit down in terms of the passing game. And that's what happened. Without that pick six, if it's just an interception, they get the ball, they continue to sling it. Joe Burrow has a massive game. Now I think this week it's a situation that we're able to take advantage of because they're still passing the ball a ton. I mean, their passing rate is so high. And that's not saying anything against Chase Brown because he's part of that passing attack. So the nice thing about the Joe Burrow stuff is you compare, Burrow. A lot of people, if they go Burrow, it's going to be Burrow to Chase, but it does the salary does dry up pretty quick. That's somewhat expensive. I want to be overweight on that. I want to be overweight on double stacks. I want to be in on the Gesicki stuff, like you guys talked about. The issue, though, for sure, is the run back, and I'm fine just not running it back. They'll continue to pass. Totally fine with that. Big team total approaching 28. So I love, and Burrow's kind of priced a little awkwardly. He's not in that top tier. You got the top tier guys, but a lot of people are going to that mid tier. He's kind of right there in the middle where a lot of people say, maybe I just go up, maybe I go down. I think the Bengals are in a phenomenal spot to put up a big number today. I think they do. I like their defense as well. I like all parts of this passing attack. You can do a lot of different things. I mean, you could go Burrow with Chase Brown, honestly, and that be your stack and not play Chase and Higgins. Hope, he passes one to Chase Brown gets one on the ground, and then, maybe two more, one to Chase, one to Higgins. And that's how that stack kind of gets there. So a lot of different things you can do. One of my favorite plays on the slate, though, by far, is Joe Burrow.
And they got to win too, right? Like everybody talks about.
They have to win, yeah.
So 27 points at home, big favorite. Lots of love for Brown and the D. I get it. I like that too. But I like the Burrow Chase stuff. The way to cut into it, I think, is what Title had mentioned in the chat. Brought it up. One less jabroni to worry about with Tanner Hudson out. So you can play Burrow, Chase, Gesicki. You don't have to run it back, but I think with them missing some options on the other side, and when you and I did the first look show this week, Hoop, that was the other thing we talked about. Like, we'd rather it be Jameis because we think he can keep the game going. But I think it's fine here. I think DTR can do enough, or somebody can. So if you do run it back, I'm fine with it. And I think, Judy's expensive, but more is there. If Njoku plays, you could do that. Jerome Ford, I know our guy Ham talking about the value report and the slate plan. Scarface does the value report. The slate plan is the FanDuel from Ham, which has won me a lot of money. He likes a little Jerome Ford this week. So there's a lot of ways you can go in this game. And it's, looking a little bit, I think it's going a little bit overlooked outside of just the obvious Chase Brown Bengals D. There's certainly some opportunities within this one. All right, let's check it out here and see. This is what I had up earlier off the top, the technical difficulties. I apologize, but keeping the likes in check. So 165 likes. If we get to 400, we'll bring it back. But for now, going to go back to the three-man booth. We got it set up here, ready to go. And Hoop, I'm going to go to you. Giants at Falcons. And how are you handling this? Because this is the talk of the slate right now, obviously, with Michael Penix Jr., all the potential jokes out there. We'll see how this one goes today. But how do you think he holds up here at $4,500?
4,500. I mean, definitely willing to take some chances. And like, if he's doesn't have the pass catchers that he has, it's probably a situation in tournaments where I say, yeah, you know what, I'm good. He's going to be popular. I'll just fade him, that sort of thing. But with the pass catchers he has, the team total's big, sitting at 26. The team he's playing absolutely sucks, the Giants. So I'm in on it. And the reason I'm in it, because there's a lot of different things you can do. Again, another situation where I wouldn't mind pairing him with his running back in Bijan. I think that's a totally fine pairing. And you have to imagine now that they've gone on from Kirk Cousins, like it's going to be full on Bijan, which it has been lately. It's trending in that direction. So Penix, Bijan, and then you have 4 pass catchers that you can go with. Like obviously Drake London, Mooney, Ray McLeod, and I don't even hate Pitts. Like what do young quarterbacks love doing? Like they just love finding their tight end. Pitts is going to be unowned. It's been a disaster, obviously, for Pitts. Like it has not worked out well, but unowned Pitts with a rookie quarterback, I'm definitely interested. So the main reason I'm in on the Penix stuff is because so many different ways to go. Not thrilled with the run backs. I get it. Neighbors is 6,100. A lot of people are going to want to play him. Probably be underweight. I am going to play Neighbors just because I will have a lot of the Falcons stacks, but I don't love the Neighbors stuff. Wan'Dale Robinson, 4,100, I think is fine. Tyrone Tracy, maybe a little bit of him, but I'm not thrilled with the run backs, but definitely in on the Atlanta stuff. They're projected to score 26. He has 5 guys really that you can kind of pair him with. So I really like it. Definitely like it. And again, like try to do something a little different. He's going to be owned. Like there's no doubt about it. 4,500 starting quarterback projected to score 26, but a lot of different ways you can go about stacking Penix today. So I'm very, very interested.
Yeah, the one I like, my favorite is actually what you said is with Pitts, and yeah. I don't care about the matchup if they're good against the tight end or not. They're still the Giants, and it's one game, and we've seen it so many times. I've seen it with it's just once. I like a bigger sample size, but you mentioned who you can go back forever. They use these tight ends a lot, and that's a way to just naturally get different right away. I like the call with using them with Bijan. If you want to stack him up, I think most are just using him naked or with somebody, a one player with them. You could go with a London or a Mooney or a double stack, like a Mooney Pitts, whatever. And I do like Neighbors on the other side. So before I go to Title, because Title was the Drew Lock guy, that's the most interesting thing to me. So Drew Lock with Neighbors has been awesome. I know it's a small sample, but it's NFL. And we don't get a great one every week. So, that we can go on this spot to me. If Neighbors is going to be popular, then why not try and flip the quarterback to the less popular? He's been getting 16, 17 DraftKings points at 4,900. People are taking a shot on Penix, hoping for that. and not knowing if they'll get it. We've seen nothing but that from Drew Lock. So if you want to flip the build, I love Bijan, and you can just play Lock, Neighbors, Bijan, and call it a day. And then we'll talk cheap defenses. But I will say, if you're not landing on the Penix stuff and you're not playing Bijan to leverage, I mean, it's a 26-point team total. I like getting a piece of them, but if you're not, then you could just land on the Giants D, because what if he makes those mistakes? I don't know, Tide, I'll go to you on this. This is a quarterback where I think they're going to see what he has right away. I don't think they're going to be trying to protect it or hide it as much. So I think there could be some mistakes made there as well. And I know some lineups, at that price, you could even have Penix and the Giants D. Not ideal on an 11-game slate, but I'll kick it to you on this one.
Yeah, I like the Giants side a lot more than most people, which means I definitely like the Falcons side too. Like Drew Lock, give me him over Tim Boyle any day, Tommy DeVito any day. I think they actually move the ball. So I'll start Giants side. Obviously, Neighbors coming with ownership, but just a PPR monster, target monster. I will say I also like a lot of Wan'Dale Robinson at 4,100 too. Talk about another PPR monster right there. We're not seeing many viable receivers in that low 4K range. I'm definitely good with some Wan'Dale. I like Tyrone Tracy a little bit too. Again, everyone's spending up at running back. Tyrone Tracy out there at 5,500. He's plus 155 to score. Again, with Drew Lock, this is one of the 3 games in a dome. I think they go over the team total. I think they move the football. If you're looking at the stone, Falcons defense isn't really good either. So because I like a lot of those Giants and individual pieces, I wouldn't hate going Drew Lock, I guess, because of that. I'm open to it. But I definitely like the Falcons stuff and probably for one of the most on the slate. My favorite by far is Bijan. Everyone wants to mess with the rookie quarterback. I get it. I'll get there in a second. But, man, like rookie quarterback in a dome is big favorites. Why would you not give one of the best running backs of football 25-plus times, one of the best touchdown props on the slate? And he's right by Gibbs and Chase Brown. He's a little more expensive, and he projects less. So he has to be a lot less owned. Bijan just makes so much sense to me in so many ways, but I tout Bijan every week. I just think he's a top 5 running back. So, yeah, take that with how you want. I've been going back and forth on the Penix stuff. I mean, he's coming with ownership, no doubt about that. I'm good with London and Mooney and Ray, I guess. I think Mooney, London is my favorite if I'm going Penix. Definitely can play Bijan with him. I don't love it naked. I'm done with Pitts, and I know this is probably the worst time to jump off because it's a new quarterback. I'm just going to play all these other tight ends. Now's the time Pitts goes off.
$500 more than Strange, by the way. Just now that you brought made me think about it right there. It's everyone's going to play Strange at ownership, and $500 more you get Kyle Pitts. If we said any time,
he's unowned. I mean, literally. Yeah. I mean, the project. What do we have him? Let me pull that 2%. Up. Yeah, it's like
give me 700 less in Gesicki.
Well, no, like if you're playing 150, if you're playing 150 and you're playing Penix, if you're playing 150, I get it if you're only building 20 teams, or if you're doing 3 teams or 5 teams. If you're playing like 50 more, if you're playing 50 or more and you're playing Penix, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, not just getting a little bit. If you play 5%, you're double the field. And it has not been fun at all. I mean, ever. I mean, really. I mean, is this his second year or third year?
It's his 3rd year, I think.
Yeah, 3rd year. I mean, he's disappointed probably 95% of the time. Something just tells me it's just one of those weird feelings, man. It's just I feel like it's going to be
a Pitts day. I'm with you.
It's just weird feelings. I don't know.
I hope you guys are wrong, but I will say for this, his rushing prop 7.5 yards, and people will do it. I just think it's going to be so over-owned. Like I just like if he gets there on the optimal on 11-game slate, like I think quarterbacks.
I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people
way too many.
I'll just take the cheap quarterback and I will get all the other studs on the slate. So I think
it's awful, and especially large field tournaments. That's what I should specify. The smaller the field, fine. It looks like Tambo disagrees.
I'm actually just laughing because you got on the joke. He's just making a joke because there's too many Penix jokes today, but. He said, it's good, but it definitely is a question at the same time. But I will say the chat brought their best one, Hoop, and it's a true David versus Goliath. Do you want Penix Jr. or do you want the Giant D? You want it the Giant D or the Penix Jr.? Well, who you think you're taking in this battle? That's really what we got here.
I have no shame. I'll take the Penix Jr. For sure. give me the Junior Penix, man. I'll take it.
I mean, it's so they really want him to succeed. Like the timing of all of this, like, all right, the Giants, one of the worst teams in the NFL. We're at home. Like, they clearly know what they're doing. Yeah, it is. Like, that's their future. They took him 8th. This guy was projected for a 2nd-round pick. Like, that was the biggest reach people have said in the last, 5 years. Like, a really crazy pick, especially what they just did with Kirk Cousins. So they were incentivized to make this at some points, and they're going to want to make him work. So, I'm not saying I'm fading Penix by any means. And when I am playing him, it's London and Mooney and Bijan. I will include in there because of his price. But my favorite way for sure is Bijan. And I like 3 individual pieces: Tyron, Wandale, and Malik Neighbors. So yeah, this is a game I'm going to play. And I guess for those reasons, it's easier to eat Chalky or Penix because his pass catchers aren't getting ownership. And I like the other side, so I'll run it back. They're not getting much ownership outside of Malik Neighbors. So I like this game a lot for sure. Bijan, my favorite play, though.
I like the last point, too. We did this. Hoop's been doing it all season. Good call-outs with Jerry Jones for the Cowboys. But talk about a team that needs to validate something. They're just, what are they shelling out? Like 60. I think Cousins made like $8 million a game for the amount of games he played. They're going to drop him so they don't have to pay him the extra 10, but he's going to walk away with like $70 million on 14 games or something. My math is off a little, but my point being that then the eighth overall, etc. Like, yeah, they got to try and make this guy work. There's pride involved.
Yeah, and everyone kind of I think it was like a calculated situation too. Like, I'm sure they knew what they were going to do. They signed Cousins, who, yeah, the money part sucks, but I mean, these teams are obviously just printing, and it doesn't really matter at all to them, the financial part. But they got a quarterback that they could dump at any point, and no one was going to be mad. So the first signs of him playing like shit, the first signs of the season being over, they just pull the plug on it. So assuming the financial part doesn't matter, which I don't think it does for any of these NFL teams because they're making so much money, the Kirk Cousins thing kind of makes sense. The reason they brought him in, probably knowing they were going to get Penix, and they just said, all right, we can dump this dude at any point. No one's going to be mad. And then we get our rookie quarterback and we just roll with him. So I think it was a calculated move on their part where a lot of people are giving them shit. I think they kind of, foresaw something like this happening.
Yeah, none of these guys are hurting. They're billionaires, man. They sit around and just toss their. They don't like to be called out, though. That's the main point, which is funny about it, right? They're just like, damn, how can I keep getting called out like this? So they look to make it work. They get the stuff in behind it. So I just thought Title's call it was pretty solid there. Hoop, I'll go back to you. Cardinals at the Panthers. When we talked about this, so we did update the ownership. It's flipped since we talked. I know the other day it was crazy that Chuba was still showing higher. I think there's certainly late steam on James Conner for good reason, and he's going to be up there, but it is a great spot. But Kyler, McBride, everyone paying down at tight end. McBride probably the guy they're paying up for, but I think 85% of the field probably still won't have him. And then you do have Chuba Hubbard on the other side, Thielen. It sounds like all these guys like Coker and Moore are both going to be good to go when they were questionable all week. So what's your thoughts on this game? Arizona at Carolina.
Yeah, it's another one of these situations. I just can't quit. And I think we did talk about it on the first look show. It's like the Kyler stuff, I don't think has gotten there all season. Maybe like one time where it's worked out. But I for some reason just can't stop it with him. And it's a really good spot. They're projected to score 26. And I don't know, maybe I'm an idiot, but I'm buying into the Trey McBride stuff, like wanting to get him a touchdown. I mean, you guys know me, I'm not like a narrative, like I'm going to buy into this shit, but they want to get this dude a touchdown. If that means a couple extra red zone targets, like I'm in, and I think the ownership on him is going to be too low. A lot of people are going to want to go cheap. So I am buying the Trey McBride touchdown stuff today. It is going to impact my ownership on him because it's going to be higher than the field, honestly, for that reason. So you can call me an idiot, whatever, but I think they definitely try to get this dude a touchdown. I mean, it's an insane streak, the number of receptions he has and no touchdown. I think it happens today, so I'm in.
All they do is throw a fade route to Marvin Harrison literally every
time. Yeah.
And it never works.
Never works.
So annoying.
Exactly.
Never works.
It's so annoying. Every play is the same. He's in the slot. He runs a little
that
fade.
one of those goes to McBride instead up the middle, right? I mean, it's got to. I mean, the Marvin Harrison shit has. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know the play. They line him up
every time.
Goes straight, goes out. They throw it incomplete.
Or to the end zone, incomplete.
Every single time.
Yeah,
I just think they try to get him the touchdown. I'm buying into it. If it costs me today, cool. I'm not worried about it. But for that reason, I'm in. It's crazy, but I'm playing Kyler more than I would for that reason as well because I do think they're going to try to get this dude a touchdown. So in on him. In on a little bit of Harrison, the price on DK at 54. And I really like James Conner. I mean, his workload is so damn secure, like so secure. He can catch passes, he can get goal line work in on him. And then, you have run backs on the other side, Hubbard, Thielen, Coker, all fine options. So this is a game at nice total sitting at 47. Have run backs if you like the Kyler stuff. So I'm in on this one in a pretty big way today.
Yeah, it honestly does feel, we're pretty aligned here, but it feels like it's not they get him the touchdown. It's the damn burst, and he gets 2 of them because they just say, we couldn't get him any for so long. And now just hit, boom, and he gets 2 touchdowns. And then you need 2 tight end lineups if Strange does have a good day, or if he doesn't, you're in big trouble with those pay down options. So I definitely think that's an interesting call. I even like just Kyler, McBride, and then pick one on the other side, whether it's one of Hubbard, Thielen, Coker, whoever you prefer. Definitely interested in that. 26-point team total on the road. That feels pretty good for Arizona to do something. Obviously, like everybody else, I prefer James Conner. I think it's a great spot here. But the main thing is, you can use him tons of different ways. You can mix him in with Kyler in those stacks. You can use him in secondary stacks. There's tons of different ways. But Title, what do you got on this one, man? How are you thinking about it?
Yeah, these first 3 games are some of my favorites. I definitely like Trey McBride. I did forget last week, too. They did try. They did the good old Kelsey underhand shovel to him, and he still didn't get in, and that was really tilting. So they did try, and I'm with you. Yeah. But I like this game a lot. It's hard not to. Implied for 26 points roughly, and the Panthers have been, shout out to Bryce Young. He didn't complain. He didn't hang his head or all that. He got to work. He had a positive attitude, and he's came back, and he has definitely looked good. Adam Thielen, I think, has probably helped his main guy. I'm going to keep him and Chuba on that side look great to me. Jalen Coker, I'm fine with him too at low ownership, but mainly Chuba, Thielen as individual pieces, and then give me all the Kyler, Connor, McBride, and then I will play some Marvin Harrison too because that price is just really cheap, and I expect 1 or 2 fade routes to him if he does get there, but it's such a good game. We're talking Penix in that last game. He's projected for double the ownership as Kyler, and I get we play a salary-based game, what it gets you, etc., but I still think a quarterback on the slate is going to probably put up 25 plus or something around there. I don't think 17 from Penix at 18% or whatever it is. I'd rather Kyler for a little more, and I like the pass catchers a lot too. McBride, again, it is more expensive, but I mentioned Tracy. There's Madison that we talked about. I don't necessarily love that. The Wandale's cheap. There is enough value, cheap-ish stuff, Patrick Taylor's of the world, that gets you on a different build that way. So, yeah, give me a lot of this game. I guess I'll throw it back to you on this, Tambo, because I know I'm going Kyler, the Connor, McBride, Harrison, Chuba, Thielen. Are you going any Bryce Young? And how do you compare him? You mentioned Drew Lock. How do you compare him to a Drew Lock?
Yeah, I like Lock better if I'm picking. I got to look where I actually considered Bryce Young, even though it's not like it matters on DraftKings, he's just as cheap. But on FanDuel at 6,700, there's some of those quarterbacks. I think going back up, I think Penix is $6K over there. You can find $700 anytime you want on FanDuel if you want to run a young Thielen and pick a guy like McBride on the other side, or just put James Conner in there. But I do like the Lock side better with you just because it's a way to get different. I like Bijan so much. So that one made sense. But what was the other thing you just made me think of? I was going to say it. The McBride. The backup running backs for Arizona, hence the extra steam on James Conner. I just really do see them putting up these points today. And I think that's where, people so many times think we're here to, talk about picks and, you said this about this pick or play. The Cardinals spot is good. Whatever happens is just the result. But what we're talking about is why it's a good spot and where there's that, that leverage. Like you said, salary-based game title, but 6,100 is not that crazy. It's still not 8,700 for Josh Allen. He could put up 20 to 25 or more. And then you've got guys that you think it's going to be with Harrison and McBride. So you've got run backs and you don't need them if you don't want to go there. So I think no matter what happens, it's a good spot. It's just whether or not it works out. Hoop and I were in, Title's jumping in. This is definitely a spot where I think a lot of tournament players will be at today because it makes sense on paper. That's why we typically will have a portfolio. Even if you have 5 lineups, you got a 5 lineup portfolio. You can put it in 1 if you want, but I think it is a good spot. So anything else, Title?
No, nothing else. I like that game a lot. The first 3 games, some of these games coming up, it'll be a lot quicker. I will be, these noon games I hope go off.
I don't know if this one will be quicker, but I'm going to go to the hoop on it first because a couple reasons. One, we know the Lions side of things. We've got Gibbs to talk about. You did a great job, I think, Hoop, on the First Look show, talking about breaking that down. So I'll let you hit it again here for those that missed it. And then also, the Stone's not up, but we'll always still give away some of the tidbits from it. The highest stack ranking I've ever seen on our stuff for stack rankings, and you got to be interested in that as well. So, Hoop, I'll kick it to you. Caleb Williams and the Bears at home versus your team, the Lions.
Yeah, I mean, another really good game, a big total sitting at 48. Lions still projected to score 28 actual points, and I think they likely get there. And the reason this game is so appealing is the Lions defense is just beat up. And obviously this is not the Josh Allen and Buffalo Bills offense they're facing today. It's Caleb Williams and, who is a much shittier quarterback than Josh Allen. But the Lions defense is not good, and it's really beat up right now. And if they're going to have long-term success, they have to score points. And again, Vegas thinks they score 28. I just don't think they can slow down basically any somewhat competent offense today. Now, is the Bears offense competent? That's up for discussion, but I think it's going to be competent today. And the nice thing about Caleb Williams is he has pass catchers like Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Adunze have all looked relatively solid. I mean, Adunze has been up and down a little bit, but you got Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Caleb Williams is cheap. He does have a little bit of rushing upside. I really, really, really like the Chicago Bears side today. I think they put up points. I think this is a high-scoring game. The one concern is, this in Chicago, colder weather, but doesn't look like there's any wind or anything, no precipitation. I just think this is a slam dunk game. So many different ways to play it. Because I'm in on it big, I'm going to play DeAndre Swift as well. Pretty cheap running back play. That's more of like a safety net situation. I know I'm big on this game. Like, if they get down there and it's Swift over Caleb Williams, I just don't want to get burned that way. And I can get enough ownership on Swift. He's not going to be highly owned where it makes sense. So I'm in on all sides of the Chicago Bears stuff. And I'm also in on the Lions stuff. Jared Goff. Listen, they start out every single game this season on offense with David Montgomery out there. Montgomery is obviously not going to be out there. I guess there is some hope that he might come back and the injury wasn't as serious as initially thought. But for today, they're without him. Gibbs is going to be out there first. And yes, Gibbs is good at running the ball, but he's more, pass catching dangerous. So I do think it leads to a passing approach for the Lions, which is good for Amon-Ra, who's coming in at like no ownership, good for Jameson Williams. And then our guy Laporta, who, has been a disappointing season, but I think he benefits from the Montgomery stuff too. And then Gibbs will be like the highest owned guy on the slate, most likely, no doubt about it. I mean, it's no secret. They're projected to score 28. He should get a majority of the work. I know a lot of people are talking about, him getting vultured by Craig Reynolds or something. Very possible. I mean, that could definitely happen. That's not out of the realm of possibilities. I'm not playing Craig Reynolds, but this entire offense, I think, is in a very, very good spot. Gibbs is very effective catching passes. They're probably going to pass a little bit more, which improves everything on the Lions side. And then you have very clear and direct run backs on the other side. Like, overstack is in play here for me today. And I do actually want to actively overstack this game because, yes, the individual pieces are going to be owned. Gibbs is going to be popular. The pass catchers for Chicago will be popular, DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. So I'm going to introduce some overstacks of this game as well because this Lions defense is so beat up right now. I just don't think they can stop any offense that's halfway competent. And I do think this is at least a halfway competent offense. So in on it in a big way.
Yeah, we talked about PGA earlier, the promotion. We don't even avoid this in PGA. I'm not avoiding it in football, and we're not playing kickers on a main slate, so I don't care about any wins like that. I'm certainly before I go to title, I'll just say.
That's nothing. That's nothing.
Yeah, and the other thing, I have so many people this week messaging me or talking about, but Caleb Williams is not Josh Allen. Correct. He's $3,200 cheaper. His offense is actually more condensed. It's better in some cases, and it's slate dynamics. It's not comparing. It's like in PGA, speaking of when people are, well, this golfer versus this golfer, you still have to put 6 into the lineup. We can do stuff different elsewhere. Caleb Williams is 5,500. It's more condensed than the Bills. We know Gibbs is a good play. You can overstack it. Like Hoop mentioned, you can involve some outsiders to split in to this ownership. You know who's no ownership? Amon-Ra, who still somehow doesn't get a tag 8K or more. Did he go down in price from last week somehow? I thought he was 8,200, but either way, 7,900. Laporta, who's been getting in the mix now 2 of the last 3 games, he's actually showing up now, is 4,700 at no ownership. So there is a ton of different ways to play it. And if the Bears and Gibbs get there, I don't want to hear all the whining about the chalk because it's built differently for a reason, and the slate at hand matters. There's tons of different ways to use it where you'll see that. Title, I'll kick it to you.
Hoop, do you guys have any D linemen, D ends. Dan Campbell going to throw some blitzes. Can you guys get after the quarterback? Because
no, well, they lost that McNeil dude too, that Aleem McNeil, who they just gave a massive contract to. They have nobody that can get to the quarterback, and that's the main concern. And just obviously, yes, I get that. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, he's no Josh Allen. Yeah, he's much cheaper. And he's playing the same defense Josh Allen was walking into the end zone with like nobody within 15 feet. They have no chance and they've always been, even the good defense has been bad against running quarterbacks, like the good defense when they had all their guys. So they have no one that can get to the quarterback.
Who wins in a race, Josh Allen or Caleb Williams?
I'm probably Caleb Williams. Josh, but I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, let's go. Let's look it up. 40. Let's look at their 40s on the draft.
Probably.
What is the chat think before they cheat? Well, what is the chat think? Who wins in a race?
Josh Allen's too big, man. I mean, it's got to be Caleb Williams. Josh Allen is like 6'4", 230 or something.
I'm not going to say the answer until people put it, but they might be looking.
It's Caleb.
I guess titled our guy. Shout out to Tom Brady is Gray had the big Schultz call in the Discord yesterday.
And he was up there to ship too for a while. Solo right at the end. He ran bad at the end. Unfortunately, had a great team.
So he said this, and this worked, by the way. It didn't. I know a lot of things hit last week that didn't actually show up on winning lineups, but those Goff lineups opposite of Josh Allen still turned out pretty well last week. We know either of those guys can have a bad game at any time, but if you have Goff here with Amon-Ra, Laporta, you're leveraging Gibbs, you're in the same spot, and we just talked about how easy it is to pick one of these guys from the other side. If you want to do it with Moore or Allen, I think that's probably where most people start, but I'm fine with that because they're kept in check. Jared Goff, 1%. Amon-Ra, less than 5%. Laporta, less than 5%. I mean, I love that build, to be honest. Just from a tournament perspective, it's complete leverage. You've got some guys like Laporta and the cheap to cut into it. So probably like Keenan Allen, just more because if DJ Moore has a big day, it's always a couple touchdowns or something, and that would really help the Caleb side. So I'd probably pick it up that way, but I'll go back to you, Title.
First of all, I will. People said enough. Hoop was right. Caleb ran a 4.56, Allen 4.71, but y'all know the answer on that. Come on now, that 40. That might be Hoop's age right there. 40 Hoop, right?
40. Yeah, 40 exactly 40. But yeah, I don't know that I'd be down to do. You might be favored, but I'd be down to do it next time we meet up for sure.
Title does have a bad ankle from the past.
That's totally healed. That's totally healed.
I'm definitely down to.
We'll throw the 500, just like whether 500 on it, like the double. If Ravens win, I can get 1,000. If not, Lions win, we can get my money back.
I'm 40. You got what? I got 15 years on you. So I think I think in this scenario, I'm definitely going to need some sort of odds just based on age. So I mean, it can't be a straight
plus 135, plus 135.
Plus 150.
I think you're going against a 40-year-old. I mean, you and I were at a blackjack table together, and the youngsters were calling me old man.
I will see you in the gym every day. 40 is just a number. Come on.
I need at least.
You can stay young forever.
I think 2 to 1's probably fair. You got 15.
2 to 1. It's going to be close. Bro, he wants 2 to 1. All right, let's get back to this game.
How old are you?
26.
Yeah, I'm 40. I got literally
about to be 20. No, I'm about to be 13
okay,
years.
So I got 13 and a half years on you, whatever the hell it is. Like, I mean, it's got to be 2 to 1.
Ham, yeah, you can definitely be in. Bring the bands. You're in this. Come on, Ham.
Man, that's man.
We still got to play basketball too, Ham. I didn't forget about that.
I'll go straight up with Ham if he wants that. I'll even money for sure.
Yeah, tell him, Anthony. Tell him. All right, back to this game.
But man, age. I mean, you can't defeat Father Time. You can't.
40 ain't Father Time. Yeah, come on. All right, this game. All right, Anthony, you can throw the bands too. No.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Title. Go ahead.
So Gibbs, like Tom Brady, and shout out to him. He was up there for a long time yesterday. Very sharp DFS player. Like that is what stood out to me. Like I don't necessarily love the cold, all this, but Vegas takes all that into consideration. They're still implied for one of the most points on the slate. Gibbs could come in like 35%, 40%, a large field, like 50% maybe. Who knows? Small field. Goff might be 1%. Amon-Ra 3%. I never say Laporta. I always shit on him, but I actually do like Laporta a bit this week, and I'm happy. Hoop did say that he thinks no Montgomery does benefit him a little bit, maybe a couple more dropbacks, etc. So I didn't really plan on getting to Goff too much, and not like you really have to too much to get overweight, but I'm definitely in, and you obviously can play him with Gibbs. I think Gibbs is so strong. I might, like in my 5 to 7 hand builds, I might just play him in every single lineup. He's minus 310 to score. He's like minus 125 for 125 plus yards. That's either receiving or rushing. He just looks really, really, really strong. Chicago side, really easy for me. I'm good with Caleb, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. That's the only 3 I'm going to mess with. I do get the DeAndre Swift thing a little bit, but I am a little worried. People mention it. Roshan Johnson is back this week, and he's a lot of the goal line equity. And I do think if Swift does get there, he probably needs a touchdown. So I prefer the passing game that way. I prefer like a Tyrone Tracy right in the same range to Swift. But yeah, you guys got me really thinking about this Goff stuff. 28 implied points and no ownership, and you can't play him with Gibbs too. So that's interesting.
Yeah, one other thing too, just the Craig Reynolds on FanDuel. Again, I know he's 4K on DK, so you can apply it, but you get 10 grand more. They did like a little, I don't know if it was just to sell people like me, but when they put that extra 200 on the end, when they could have just made him 4K flat, I'm like, okay, the only way he really would be valuable is like a 2 touchdown bet, I think, or those 2 touchdowns make something work on FanDuel. So I didn't go crazy with it, but I will note it here on the show just because it reminds me of like the Sean Tucker situation with Bucky that week, and everyone was all mad about it. Like, I'm not even trying to make it work on DraftKings. You only have 50K as it is, not 60 like on FanDuel. And then on top of it, Gibbs is only 7,500 on DraftKings. It's like you can get to him so easily that it doesn't matter. If Gibbs has 25 and Reynolds robs 18, then that just tells you how good the spot was for Gibbs, and it just the way it went. That's how it goes. That's sort of thought about up front. So I have no interest in that on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, they did sell me there, I know for sure, in a couple spots. So just to note it. Other than that, I think we went through that game pretty good. So
one last thing for me, I will, even though Gibbs and Lions defense with nothing else, I will do a little bit. And the reason for that is it's a different, like no one's playing Lion defense. It's a way to get different. But Caleb Williams, the reason I asked about the pass rushing and I wanted it, that dude dances around in the pocket back there and he thinks he's Josh Allen. We're about to find out, but he could still take 6-7 sacks just because he like always tries to make someone miss and thinks he can. So the Gibbs, like really chalky running back, no one playing the defense. It is expensive. I still will play a little bit even with how beat up they are.
Yeah, I like that call. I'm going to stay with you, actually. Titans Colts is the next one up, and we're still in the morning games. We're about to hit, I think, 240 likes or so. If we get to 400, we'll pull the stone back up, and I'll kick it to you, Title. Titans at the Colts. Take us through this one.
Yeah, this is where I don't have too much interest on the Titans side. It's really just Calvin Ridley. I was kind of hoping Tony Pollard, at least for my best ball team still alive, that he was going to miss for Tajee Spears, but he's going to be in there, so I don't have any interest. With Mason Rudolph instead of Levis, though, I mean, they had to bench Levis at half. It was the most pathetic performance I've ever seen. Rudolph actually moves the offense, and he looks at Calvin Ridley. I don't even think Chig's the craziest play. Like, he's actually a solid tight end who can get upfield when he catches the ball. I do look at Rudolph as an upgrade. So I think Ridley's a little interesting. Again, this is 1 to 3 games in Dome. The other side, I definitely like me some JT. You get a price discount a little bit from the Chase Brown, the Gibbs of the world. My favorite 2 pivots of those chalk in that range is Bijan for a little more, JT for a little less. Guys that have absolutely nuking upside. So I'm good with JT. A-Rich is interesting. And you can play him naked. I hardly ever do that with quarterbacks, but he just has so much rushing upside at the goal line. Josh Downs is cheap, though, and Pittman's cheap. So I'm going to throw it right back to you on this, Tambo, because it's really just Ridley, JT, and then I have interest in A-Rich, but would you play him naked, or would you just skinny stack him with the Pittman Downs? And if so, do you have a preference?
Yeah, my preference is Downs, and my guy Ham likes Adonai Mitchell too. And you talked about the value report earlier with Scarface. He likes a little Chig. So if you mix the Scarface, Ham, our main FanDuel guys together, you can do it on DraftKings too, FanDuel, whatever. But that little secondary even got me interested. And then one thing that was interesting at the start of the week, Rudolph might deliver some presence. The only problem is they might be to the Colts D, and the Colts D was getting ownership. Now it's not. Nobody wants them. They're sitting there at 3K. Again, a Rudolph is not like these other backup quarterbacks that come in where let's make sure we don't make mistakes. They're just going to let him sling it and do whatever he wants. If it works, awesome for a guy like Ridley, who we kind of want to play and see him bounce back here. But I like the Richardson side quite a bit more. Richardson, Downs. You could play the Colts D. You could play Jonathan Taylor if you want. Ridley on the other side, Chig. It's not like I love the game as much. Just I think there's definitely good secondary stacks in here, or just run the Richardson side. So hopefully that helps. Hoop, do you have anything you want to add there? Anything on this game you like?
Yeah, I'm kind of in on the Colt stuff because of the price tags and what it allows me to do. Like it's like cheapest price tags these guys have had in quite some time. Richardson, Pittman, Downs. I don't even mind Mitchell. I'm with Ham on that. I'll have some of him. And the one thing that always fucking tilts me when I stack the Colts is that Pierce dude catches a touchdown every fucking time, and I never play his ass. His ass is out today. He's out today.
Oh, he is out
so
today.
That's honestly, it's crazy. That's part of the reason why I like the Colts stuff today. Does it not happen all the time? I mean, I swear that's the dude that always catches it. He's out. So I think that's part of the reason why I like the Colts stuff today. Cheap. And this Mitchell guy is out. He's been a huge troll. So in on it. JT, I like a little bit more on FanDuel. Yeah, I'm in on this stuff. You got Ridley on the other side as a fine run back if you want to go that route.
Yeah, a couple things here just real quick. The Philly Phantom brought this up earlier. That was the way to cut into if you want to go on the James Conner stuff. That's definitely a good way just to slice into it right away. It makes sense if they're up. They got such a good team total. If you're not in on the passing stuff we talked about, I think that's interesting. Chig, 12 targets last week. Definitely something. And then, the chat always hates on this. I get it. Some of the members, they say don't click the like button because they don't want you to see the stone. The honest truth is if you're spending an hour per Sunday or more watching this show, you're putting 4 or 5 hours into DFS, you're probably playing DFS every slate on a weekly basis, whatever it might be. That's why we push it. It's not because, the promos and stuff, but you can literally get in for like $34 right now using BF50 and see this for yourself. It's going to work out to like 50 cents or something per slate on what you're actually playing. And that's why, shout out Joanne, you can have the stone, founding member, everything you need and more is right there. So that's why it's, we can only do so much. We make the deal with you. But I think that's the key. Get into the nation, see what's going on. It's the most affordable, most valuable content in the entire DFS space. We stand by that. So, Hoop, anything else you want to add with that one, man? If not, take us into the Rams Jets.
Yeah, nothing else to add. I mean, there's been some pretty appealing games, I'd say, so far. I'm assuming we're going to get to some stinkers here. And I don't know, there's pieces in this one I kind of like. I mean, the one thing that definitely stands out is both teams wanting to kind of pass the ball a little bit more. I mean, the Rams passing offense, kind of back to full strength. They get Higbee back in a limited capacity today, not really in play for DFS, but it does strengthen the overall offense. Puka is an absolute beast. I mean, just an absolute stud, and talk about it all the time with Matthew Stafford. What has he done all throughout his career? Like locking in on one guy. It was Calvin Johnson forever. Well, it was Cooper Kupp for a while. Now it's Puka, and Puka is his dude. In on him. Cooper Kupp at like an all-time low in price. And yeah, Puka is better at this point for sure. But man, I'm 6,500 for Kupp. I am interested there. I mean, it is weird. Like he's gotten no work like whatsoever. I imagine at some point Matthew Stafford is going to be like, hey, I remember you. Don't worry, I got you, and flips to him. So I'm going to have some Cooper Kupp. So Kupp and Puka only plays for me on the Ram side. On the Jet side, been talking about it for weeks. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is highly incentivized to just continue to chuck it to Devontae Adams. Big game last week. Wouldn't be surprised if he does it again. 7,100. The price really didn't go up all that much. And then Garrett Wilson's down to 66. So it's really those four wide receivers for me. And I'm not 100% opposed to Aaron Rodgers today. I know he had the big game last week. It feels like Chase. I just think they continue to pass the ball, and I have run backs on the other side. So also he's a guy that I might end up playing a little bit on DK. So, but it's definitely those four pass catchers, wide receivers.
That's the one today. Title, you go 2 Jets, 1 Cup. You can put in Adams and Wilson. Got everybody. The Hoop almost put the water out. You get Cooper Kupp at an all-time low price. I don't know. Maybe he hasn't been hitting up the Breakfast Club lately with his boy Stafford, and I know it's been Nakua, but man, the lineup looks really good. If you just go Rodgers, Adams, Wilson, Kupp, and I can promise you, I added it this morning to the 555 Millie Maker with one of my tickets. So that's definitely added. I'm not playing a ton of this game, but man, someone did say though, they tagged me in the Discord title, and I know you got the tab up. Is there a big weather conversation here? Or what's this one?
Weather in this one is temp in the 20s with a 10-mile-an-hour wind, according to Roth, which I would not worry about.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers probably put himself in a cold tank before for a few days. I haven't watched Enigma yet, on Netflix, but it's like
I
self-produced. I can only imagine how engulfed he is in his own thing. But yeah, this is the spot. I think it's an interesting one where if you have the stone, you would see the pass defense rating, you would see the rush defense rating. Breece Hall is 6,100 too. And then on the other side, it's just, to me, two really condensed offenses. And before I finally eventually kick it to you, Title, the other thing is the Jets-Jags last week. Like we keep talking about Caleb Williams is not Josh Allen going against Detroit. Well, what about last week? The Jets and Jags, just two teams you can keep picking on. We're going to get to the Jags game later. But to me, I think the Rams are just as easy to pick on. And the Jets on the other side, both throw it a ton. I got interest in this game.
I don't too much, but I hope they do throw it because I have interest in Puka. I have interest in Devontae Adams. Like, the cup stuff's been really tough, but, I mean, Puka's always open. If I'm Matthew Stafford, I ain't looking at anybody else except Puka either, unless he's double-teamed. This dude's top 3. I mean, he's insane right now. Devontae on the other side, it's just real clear the rapport with Aaron Rodgers. And, man, I've loved seeing Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, he's been cooking, been owning all these weirdos. 45 rushing yards, 300 2 days ago or 2 games ago.
After being mathematically eliminated from the playoffs and unable to win any games. Yeah, it's time to roll, boys. Let's go.
Now he's cooking. And hey, that's all we care about in DFS. But all that being said, I'm still not playing him today. I prefer plenty other quarterbacks. I won't have much of this. The backfield for the Jets, I'm surprised Breece Hall's even playing. I don't think Kyron's the worst play, but again, he's expensive. I prefer Bijan, JT as pivots. I'll be playing plenty of Gibbs, Chase Brown, Puka, Devontae, and I do prefer Puka by good bits. He's just an absolute monster.
They said that video was viral before viral was a thing, and then someone said Title might have been too young for that. Title, you know the 2 girls, 1 cup?
Yes, unfortunately.
Okay. Just checking. Oh, man. All right.
That was the Hawk 2 of our generation.
Yeah, that's a great call out. Where's the meme coin at so I can spike my whole net worth into it and just watch it bomb away? All right, let's move on.
These coins, unreal. Like,
I love your post the other day on X about it. It's like, I don't know what anybody's expecting. Like, somebody yesterday was like, I don't know. Then you read about that, and your algorithm on X gets spiked by all these other ones. And dude's like, just 6 months ago, this is what my meme coin portfolio looked like. And it's got like 350,000 in it because he ran it up. And he's like, now it's down to 7,600. But don't worry, we'll bounce back. Damn, dude. Hit a cash out button. God,
it's been tough ever since you asked me, Tambo. The market's been down a bit. I mean, I don't know if you gave me some bad juju, but hey,
I don't know any.
It does seem like now it's kind of stabilizing with the stock market as well. I mean, the market was down like 10 days in a row, and the crypto stuff went down like at the same time. So I don't know. It's like it's interesting. Definitely interesting.
No financial advice. That's all.
Not financial advice. Yes. Can you give us DFS advice on this next one? Because the games. We're looking for these stinkers or we're looking for these bad games as we talked about, but now you got Eagles at Commanders. Title, I'll stay with you. Hurts at Jaden Daniels. Nobody playing Saquon. Oh, they say they are, but they're not clicking the button, and we know that. Oh, he's such a good play on the slate. The matchup, nobody can get to him, but they're still not clicking him. So talk to me about the Eagles at the Commanders.
I will have nothing in this game. I think the Eagles run the football. When they get to 3rd and 1, they QB sneak. They're on 7-8 minute drives, and the game busts after that. Like, if you're playing Hurts, maybe it's Saquon that gets in. You play Saquon, he gets to the 1, Hurts gets in. If I am spending up at quarterback, give me the guy that has absolutely nuked the past 2 weeks in Josh Allen. Otherwise, I'm saving. So, yeah, I got nothing in this one.
I like it. Quick movement. We'll go over to Hoop on this one. I guess the big thing is just Barkley. The one thing I will say, Hoop, is if you move away from this game, as looks like many are, the reason you feel a little bit more comfortable with it, I think, or at least people out there do, is because they're, this sort of, while Hurts could eat his lunch, Barkley could get some, they split. It doesn't end up being anybody you need there. They've got guys back now. They're missing some. But I don't know. It's tough to get this spot right. So how are you handling it?
I've gone back and forth on it just because it's going to be like unowned, like the Hurts stuff. But then it's like, man, you look at it and they got to beat some real studs. Like, Jalen Hurts has to beat Josh Allen. AJ Brown, if you want to play him as an expensive wide receiver, has to beat a lot of studs at that position to be the guy, because you're not going to be able to play 2 expensive wide receivers in most spots. So gone back and forth on it, and this was the game I wanted to get your guys' take on to kind of influence what I end up doing. And I don't know. I do think if you are underweight on this as a whole, just play a lot of Saquon Barkley. And that's kind of the direction I'm probably leaning, just being off. But the Eagles defense is good for sure. So being off most of it and then just taking an overweight stance and just give us the Saquon Barkley explosion spot, which it could be. And I do imagine the Eagles on the road here with a lot to play for would be fine with an ugly win. So I think I'm kind of leaning that direction, just being off of it. Give me the Saquon and Eagles defense. I like Eagles defense as a play as well. And then maybe off. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Tambo?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Again, I don't know. We're so aligned today, but the Barkley, maybe it's a good day for Ship It Nation and we get these Billy makers or something. But I will say the Saquon Barkley call is just that. I hear a lot of people talking about it. I follow pretty much everything around the industry, and they're talking about it, but they're not clicking it. I think, it's definitely one of the best matchups on the slate for them. Why would you not run the ball in a division game against a quarterback like Jaden Daniels? I know he's out of it, but he's definitely, to me, third in the MVP race. It's, Lamar keeps doing his thing. Josh Allen continues to do his thing, but just why not keep jamming Barkley? I know he's a very selfless guy. We saw the record game title brought up that time was just an awesome thing to see from an NFL player that's really just about getting to the championship and winning that Super Bowl. But realistically, he's still got to play. It's this matchup. And the biggest thing for me about Barkley and why I like him so much is that running back seems like everyone has it figured out, but there is potential for stuff where it's and again, I love Gibbs. I'm just going to use him in this example, though. 75 versus 83. What if Gibbs gets you 19 and it's a good day, but Barkley gets you 31 and it's a great day? Like little things like that where I can actually see how it happens. So I have interest in Barkley. The other thing is, I will say the last one, and then we can go to the next game, but the Hurts A.J. Brown spot is interesting, but it really forces you to take on those fragile running backs because there's not much wide receiver value. But if you're building it, it's not like Showdown where you're just going to fall into the same dupe as everybody. It's an 11-game slate. No one's really going here. But if you can put in like a Madison, a Patrick Taylor, or something like that you can put in, what did I say? What was the trade? Yeah, Patrick Taylor Jr. If you do that, so I was thinking of the build, you will get yourself a lineup that still looks good, makes sense if these cheaper running backs come through. But remember, those running backs are kind of in good spots. We haven't got to them yet, but they are. It's just uncomfortable for most. So you can build this out in a couple different ways. I don't know, Hoop, anything else that changed your mind on or made you think of just going through it before we go to the next one?
No, yeah, it was good talking through it because, I was initially thinking of trying to force in some Hurts and Daniels just because of the low ownership, but it just takes away from so much else. Like you're sacrificing a lot in those lineups to make it work. So yeah, I'm gonna most likely I'm just gonna roll with the Saquon stuff. Hope it's a grinded out win, which division game on the road, like that probably is their goal. So I'm in on that for sure.
And one last thing to it as well is this is a super interesting build for the slate, just a random one, just to throw it out there. But if you think that some of these pass catchers, because it's a lot of mid-range wide receivers, could be one of those weeks where you're in the right place but the wrong spot, it ends up being a Trey Tucker instead of a Jacoby Myers or just something along those lines. Or it's we'll get to it later, but I know it's Christmas, but go back to Halloween, get a Michael Myers in their titles boy. If it ends up being something like that, you can get to a really unique build where you have like a Saquon, Gibbs, Bijan or something, and you're leveraging like all the good spots. You just need the pass catchers to go your way. And if it ends up being a spot where that happens with not many on the expensive quarterbacks and wide receivers, mostly living in that mid-tier, you could really bulk up your running back positions and even in the flex and just get a completely different build. Something like a satellite or a higher dollar, smaller field, 5,000 or less entries, that can be massive to lift you up there and really put you in a position to ship late into the slate. So title, I'll go back to you for this next one. It's Vikings at the Seahawks, unless you had anything else you wanted to add after we talk through it. But Vikings at Seahawks, as Hoop realizes it's a good time to bail for the bathroom. We love to see it.
I'm not even sure it was a great time because I don't have much in this one, Hoop. So I'll try and prolong it a little bit. But I mean, I always love Justin Jefferson. I shouldn't say that. I've had a couple weeks I didn't, and I'm back to not loving him on a slate like this. If I go up, I think I prefer Jamar Chase, prefer Puka. The running backs are all in the same range too. So not much Justin Jefferson. And the thing with like Addison, Sam Darnold loves Jordan Addison. So like he's taken away so much from Jefferson this year. It's really just Aaron Jones on that side. Sub 10%, right around 10%, in that Chuba range of less than Connor. People aren't really going that cheap. He's 6.4K, but you're talking about like AJ Brown, Hurts. Maybe Aaron Jones can be your most expensive running back, and then you go with Taylor or something. He's minus 125 to score, has some pass catching ability. And the other side for the Seahawks, two guys, JSN, DK Metcalf. Feels really weird seeing DK 500 less. Props are pretty much identical on both of them. Eye test wise, it seems like JSN's the number one. Still, man, DK has that big boy upside. Mainly just one-offs, though. If I skinny stack, it'd be Aaron Rodgers. I guess I wouldn't be skinny. If I go one of both sides, it'd be Aaron Jones and pick one of those two. Otherwise, I'm fine with just a JSN, just a DK, just a Aaron Jones. But another game I don't love much.
You said Aaron Rodgers by accident, too, so it must be good signs for our boy today. It's your man. We get him in there, but what's the weather in this one? Title the chat was talking about that as well. Maybe I missed it, but go ahead.
No, I didn't say it. And yeah, so it's a very wet day in Seattle. The driest parts around game time, some scattered showers. That's what Ross said. And it pretty much is another day ending in Y in Seattle. So yeah, I'm not none of these weather games. He doesn't have anything worse than yellow. And at the end of the day, like when I see orange, that's when I start really looking. I don't see any. So it's a pretty clean for December 22nd for sure.
Yeah, Hoop, that was a quick one. You're back, ready to go. What's the thoughts on Seahawks at home versus the Vikings?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that definitely stands out here is the cheap price tags on, well, especially DK Metcalf, 5,500. I think he's a fine play. JSN at 6K, I think is a fine play. And then I don't mind Geno. I'm going to play a little bit of Geno at 5,700 just because, they want to pass the ball, a very pass-heavy sort of team. If you want to run it back, you have run backs, Jefferson, Addison, Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson. There are ways you can go. So it's going to be low owned outside of like Metcalf. Everything on the Minnesota side should be pretty low owned. So just because of the price tag, though, I'm kind of in on Seattle. I mean, if you do want to play some of those more expensive running backs, you need some cheaper stacks, and it's a pretty cheap stack, a team that wants to pass it a little bit. So moderate interest, not going to be a ton, not going to be a large portion of my portfolio, but I am interested in the Geno stuff a little bit.
What about on the Minnesota side with Title was talking about like Aaron Jones? Obviously, he's always a Jetta guy, but just to say it's been not great and 8,200, but even Addison is 62 and he has been great. He's been 30 and 40 point games and been pretty consistent. Do you have any Aaron Jones or Addison love if you were picking?
I'd probably go Addison. I mean, I like a lot of running backs ahead of Aaron Jones, so he's pretty low on my list. It'd be Addison.
I like that point that you just made. I don't have a side in this one, but I like how you pointed that out. And I think a lot of people don't look at it from that perspective when they're looking at, how do I get to a play, or if they're hand building or something like that. I like how you brought it up. It's not even about Aaron Jones, good spot, bad spot, price, whatever. It's like there's so many guys ahead of him, you said, and that's how you should be looking at your lineups, because that position is taken up and you're like, I'll just go to Addison if going there on a run back. So you could do that move this week that we've seen work a couple times these past few weeks. You talked about being a similar slate. Geno only 5,700, Jackson Smith and Jigbo only 6K, Metcalf only 55, and Addison, I'll say only, but I think most people are already landing on Brian Thomas Jr. or Myers or someone in that range. Why not flip that to somebody else? In this case, it's a run back that would make this thing go. So I certainly think that's kind of interesting if you want to run Geno, JSN, DK, and then get a little Addison on the other side. Hawkinson's there as well if you want to pay up a little bit at tight end over the common theme of people paying down. So Title, anything with that one extra? If not, you can go into Patriots Bills with Josh Allen at home.
No, and I don't mind Addison either. Like, again, it sounds so weird to say. I do prefer him to Jefferson. Like, the price discount and just the eye test, and feels like half the Darnold's reads are Addison first. And again, it's probably a lot of bracket coverage and stuff on Jefferson. But looking at the stone, the Vikings can get beat through the pass. Seattle can get beat through the rush, though. So still JSN, DK, Aaron Jones, my preferred. Next game going to be pretty easy for me. Patriots side, just Hunter Henry. I think he's a solid play. He has a good rapport with Drake May. Again, two tight ends I think are very viable because of how cheap they are. When you're comparing Hunter Henry at 4,100 to the other receivers, I don't think I mentioned anyone today except Wan'Dale Robinson in that range. I think Jalen Coker was fine, but that's why 2 tight end is strong, because when you compare their price to receivers, usually the starting tight ends grade out a lot better and project better. Bill's side, I mean, is Josh going to continue to be amazing and go for 40 plus? If so, you'll need him. If he gets 30, is that enough on this slate? I don't know. Obviously, it depends on what other people do, but when you plug in Josh Allen, it is tough. You look at the Stone, pretty low optimal percentage. If I do go Josh Allen, I do know my favorite way is going Dalton Kincaid. I do prefer skinny stacking because he does, like, if he's truly going to get that ceiling, you think he probably does, like, he throws some. He probably rushes one or whatever. And the Kincaid price compared to Shakir is $1,300 difference. And he's going to be low owned at the tight end position, a onesie position, pretty much twosie now that you play a lot. I play a lot in flex, but that's by far my favorite way to go would be Josh Allen, Kincaid, Hunter Henry other side. Otherwise, really nothing in this game, but ownership super, super low. It's crazy if you pull up Josh Allen's game log the past 2 weeks, but it's tough. Salary-based game.
Yeah, it's interesting too, Hoop. I'll go to you on this because it's like Josh Allen, we talked about a little bit earlier. You can, try playing him naked, but then it runs into a bit of a problem there. But I think even when people are playing Josh Allen naked, they're probably playing strange in tight end because he's 3,500. He really makes everything else feel a little bit more comfortable and work. So I guess would it be, like to Title's point, I love that. We talked earlier about putting Penix with Pitts as a way, now different reasoning altogether, but the same thing here is a way to make the expensive guy affordable. You could play Kincaid on top of Strange and play double tight end and really open up your lineup. And that's what Shady Advice did at the live final last week. He almost clipped Chipotle Addict for the win, but he did Strange with Akins. And I know he probably didn't love Akins, but at least Njoku was out. It was a different way of playing it and then didn't have to worry about as much. And it let him get to the rest of the plays that were solid. And it didn't look as much like a Josh Allen lineup where you're like, wow, that seems like I'm a little bit too risky. Is that something you could do here with Kincaid, or do you have sort of other guys you'd prefer to stack him with?
Yeah, I'm totally good with the Kincaid stuff. I mean, especially on FanDuel, it's a little bit it's easier to play Josh Allen. We talked about it on FanDuel versus DK. But that's why if you like Josh Allen, you force him in on DK. You find a way to get him in there and make it all work and do creative things like you talked about. The obvious risk is, so if I'm playing a quarterback naked, I like at least something on the other side. So I'll say, okay, I don't need to stack Josh Allen with the pass catcher, but I definitely want, in those lineups, I definitely want something on the other side. So Josh Allen naked, but something on the other side. And man, there's not much on the other side. It's like, Hunter Henry, that's fine. I just don't want to play any of these other dudes. So going to have to get creative a little bit. But yeah, I like Kincaid. The targets have been there. Just hasn't had the big game. And then it's tough with the pass catchers. I mean, Ty Johnson had a big game last week. Shakir, Coleman, Amari Cooper. They'll bring Matt Collins out there in the red zone. So it's very difficult to play Josh Allen, but everyone's going to look at it as difficult. And the guy has just nuked slates. He's going to continue to. This is a situation people love avoiding. Teams favored by like 2 touchdowns at home. It's got to be the running back. It can't be the quarterback. I'm fine playing, James Cook as well. He's getting overlooked. A lot of people are, obviously thinking it's going to continue to be Josh Allen. But James Cook's fine too. But it's challenging. But if you like it, stick with it and stick with it on DK, because a lot of people will abandon ship when they try to build these teams.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to stick with it. I think it's a really good spot. Again, it's just a part of the slate dynamics. There's ways to get to it that make sense. Even with Coleman back last week, like you mentioned, like Hollins, even 3,600, he got cut into, still got a red zone target, still got some catches. Like he was still out there in the mix. The Kincaid stuff that we talked about, there's definite ways to go. And then the chat made a good point. Shout out to our guy, Rob, said, I feel like the Allen needs to be pushed to go off. Drake May has been able to show up in some of these spots and run the ball a little bit and move it. It's hard to pick it. So what I'm saying is twofold. You don't have to find a run back if you don't want to, but you can just know that if they can push it some way through Stevenson, Pop Douglas, Bourne, whoever it might be, Henry, then at least it can move the ball a little bit back and forth to get it going. It's tough to say, but the Bills do still have a 30-plus point team total at home, big favorites to get there and could get there early. So, Title, I'll go to you just quickly. I know you already talked about this game, but just how many of the Hunter Henry lineups are in Josh Allen stacks? It has to be a lot of them, right? Like I think most.
Yeah, Probably a good amount, but I wouldn't even worry about it because of how low Josh Allen's ownership is. But
Right.
yeah, my favorite way would probably be Josh Allen, Kincaid, Hunter Henry, and go from there. And it has to be pretty unique. But I think
I
to
was
your
just saying
point,
too, if you went
a
to
lot.
Kincaid instead of Henry, because I think when people go to it, it's going to be Allen, Henry, or Allen with Henry and a run back, and a stack piece with Josh Allen versus you can just avoid both by getting just Kincaid. He's $500 more than the popular play that would be with him. No ownership on him and don't need to figure out the run back. Just have to say in your head, I hope Drake May and the rest of those guys can push him enough to make him hit his total. So like hit some points. So yeah, go to second last game of the slate if you have nothing else. Jags Raiders.
Yeah, this game probably my favorite in the afternoon window, and I think most people's. And it's worth noting, like if you're behind late swap, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 games in the afternoon window. If you need to pivot off stuff, like Strange, we keep mentioning his name, will be very popular. Brian Thomas will be pretty popular. The only 2 pieces I have interest on the Jags side. But yeah, I mean, how do you not have interest in that? Like Mac Jones, he's been competent for sure. Brian Thomas is a complete stud. We'll be saying his name for many of years to come, and he's going to be putting up big games, huge upside. And Strange, I mean, Mac Jones just peppered him. He's on the field all the time. The price is good. I have nothing to argue with that chalk. We listed so many other tight ends that are in play. If you go Burrow, you can go Gesicki over Strange chalk. Whatever it may be, I will have plenty of 2 tight end teams. I'm going to eat some Strange chalk, whether it's good or bad. I'm interested here. Your takes. Raiders side?
Bro, definitely don't eat the Strange. You never want to eat the Strange.
Raiders side? Oh, gosh. I don't know. Aiden O'Connell, I've been going back and forth. I keep telling myself I'm not playing these bad quarterbacks. Tamo's shaking his head. But I like all the pass catchers. Jacoby Myers looks good. Brock Bowers, nobody's playing him as a spend up. He can get you 30. It is hard to play Brock Bowers, but with how cheap O'Connell is, it's not crazy. And yeah, you mentioned my guy, Michael Mayer, but they run is 12 personnel. He was on the field 70% of snaps. He essentially is another wide receiver. It's Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer. That is exactly almost every single play. That is how they run it. So if he's $2,900 and no one's playing him, I'm going to have some interest as a pivot in that cheaper tight end range. So with all that being said, and I have interest in Jacoby, Brock, Mayer, Trey Tucker, he falls so down the list of and they're going to run the football. I don't think they drop back 40 times. No one's really down there. 3,900. I definitely don't love it though. If I did play him, it's probably with O'Connell, more likely to be in the afternoon slate. Yeah, I think I like Bowers, Mayer, and Jacoby, and O'Connell's low owned. I maybe should play some Aiden O'Connell in a dome at home. I like some run backs. So yeah, I think this is the gross game that I'm going to be in on, and I probably will play some O'Connell. Last thing, that Alexander Madison, I don't know. I'm really indifferent about it. Like Amir Abdullah still had more snaps last week. And again, they're different running backs. Abdullah's change of pace, Madison more up the middle bruiser stuff. I don't know. I don't love Madison. I prefer the passing game, but
he wasn't there early for the touchdown too last week, but then a lot of what he was in there for late for his snaps were when they were down. It just depends on how you see the game playing out. But I will say, Brian Thomas Jr., hard to get away from. And if you want to get away from Strange, you can go with O'Connell stack and then run it back with just Brian Thomas. But what I was going to say, when that's how a lot of people are doing it. But when I would do it, I looked at some for 12K with no run back, or for 18K with Brian Thomas Jr. as your run back, you can just play Trey Tucker and Michael Mayer. And then you can fit all those studs that I talked about earlier. It just depends on where you think the scoring comes from today, but it does twofold. It keeps the good play of Brian Thomas Jr. in the mix. It gets you away from all those mid-range other wide receivers and gets you all the lower-owned, high-priced running backs. If that's where the money comes from today, that'll be how you find your way to the top. So super interesting build that I found with this game, but I do like the O'Connell side. Hoop, what about you in this one? We know Strange, Thomas Jr. are good. Last week, the play was just to run the triple stack from the other side. You just play O'Connell, Myers, Bowers, Strange, Thomas, whatever. What do you do here with this one?
Yeah, definitely not playing the quarterbacks. I kind of blacked out when you guys started talking about that and wasn't paying attention, so I don't know what the argument was, unfortunately, but not doing that. But I am in on the individual pieces. The Madison stuff's gross, but man, he makes some things work. So a little bit of him, some Myers, some Bowers, some Mayer, I think's fine. Brian Thomas on the other side, and then Strange. All individually fine plays. the ownership on some of these guys, I just think it's just a little bit too much, specifically like the Strange stuff. And I'm playing them, no doubt about it. But like in large field stuff, it's like he is so coming in so highly owned. But I'm on it. Brian Thomas, same thing. I'm on it, but probably underweight. And then like those Raiders guys, I think are fine individual plays, but definitely no QB for me.
Yeah, and I think too, if you want to play, Bowers, even if you go O'Connell, Bowers, Thomas Jr., well, you're not playing McBride, you're not playing Strange. I think you're going to like a Marv Harrison Jr. or a James Conner, because you're saying if it's not going to be those other spots there, it's not Strange, it's not McBride, you're going back to Bowers, who, by the way, everybody loved last week and all of a sudden hate him now. But then I'm putting James Conner because I'm just covering it off. Like the next level of what that build looks like is going there. So really bad pass defense. Everybody throws in the Jags. We did this earlier with Caleb Williams versus the Lions. This has been a spot that you can get after all season as well. So you can cut it off. If Bowers has 2 touchdowns, that's good for O'Connell. Brian Thomas Jr. is good every week somehow, literally every week, not like a Nick Westbrook. Akine gets a touchdown every week, good, but just a really good DFS play and good player in general, like Title said. So ugly, gross, but interesting. And then I'm with Hoop. The Madison stuff is gross, but if you're landing there, I'm building for that game script. If you were somehow landing on the other side, then I would understand like Abdullah being in the stack that way. Title, final game of the slate we cover here is the main slate over on DraftKings. 49ers in Miami against the Dolphins. Any weather conversation there at all?
No, look, weather looks fine here. Malik Washington, Jonnu Smith on the Dolphin side. Man, watching that game, all I saw was Malik Washington literally him or Achane, every single play. 3,700. Again, there's just hardly any value down there. We're talking about if you want Josh Allen, Kincaid, or you're playing Hurt stuff, whatever it may be. I think he is one of the viable guys down there in the 3K range at receiver. I'm good with him. Jonnu Smith has just been a complete beast. I'm going to keep playing Jonnu for sure. In between the McBride, Bowers kind of, and then the Stranges of the world, definitely closer to the McBride, Bowers, but a spend up tight end, a little salary discounts. I don't think I'm going to be playing too much Tyreek. Not playing Tua. Achane's fine, but I think Gibbs is really good chalk. The props are just so strong. Gibbs is definitely a pivot for 100 less, but I think if I'm going to make a pivot, maybe I'll save even more and go like a JT. I prefer Connor for cheaper. I prefer Bijan for a little more. I'm not trying, Achane's a fine play, but I'm not going to get there, I think, too much personally. 7,400. I still do respect this 49ers defense, even though not playing for much. Niners side, Jawan Jennings, by far my favorite play. I mean, who would have thought wide receiver 1, but that's most definitely what he is. Tebow at 5,200. And then I just look at the game log and I'm like, man, what in the world do I do? And I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you guys say. Patrick Taylor, another guy in play at 5,200. I also kind of look and compare him to Madison. Like, how much do I love it? It's like you guys said for Madison, certain teams and certain things, you just need those guys that are starting running backs at that price to make everything work. So I'm good landing there, but by no means am I excited. I like Jawan a good bit. He's getting ownership. Malik Washington, Jonnu, more individual pieces for me. I don't plan on playing the quarterbacks, but interested to hear your guys' take on like the Achane, Taylors, Debos of the world.
Yeah, I'll kick it to Hoop in a second, but I will say that just play DFS so long, all of us. He sucks. The game log has been horrible. He sucks this season. I don't think he's a bad player. I'm just saying, but like Debo is gonna do something today just because. They finally lost their other running back. Everyone's done with him. He's 5,200. You can easily get to Jennings for just $700 more. Hence why people are. It just happens, right, Hoop? Like you don't even want it. You don't even get there yourself in some cases. You just know this is going to happen, though. You've played enough DFS to see it happen. Same price as Patrick Taylor, too, by the way.
Yeah, it's been so bad, but it's like it can't continue to be that bad, can it? Like that's the question you got to ask yourself. It's been terrible.
Problem is, it doesn't need to be that bad. Double the score half the games, and you still don't want it.
Yeah, I know.
But I agree with what Tam was saying. Maybe that running back being down, he keeps saying that, but Patrick, they trusted Garindo more than Patrick Taylor, so maybe that does even boost more touches for Debo.
I'm playing him. I mean, I'm definitely playing him.
How do you going out there with pneumonia? Like they said he had pneumonia and he's never going to bounce back. He can't breathe, yet he's still on the field playing all these plays. Like, he's just not doing anything. He says he's fine.
Man, it just this game, it's like there's pieces, and I don't know. I haven't made my final determination on this, but you can definitely tell yourself a story, like a deep bomb to Tyreek Hill, and this one just gets going, right? And the 49ers have the firepower on the other side. They can definitely fire back. Jennings, Kittle, and I guess if you want to throw Debo in the mix, feel free to do so. It hasn't worked this season, but like they have the firepower. They're without their first 3 running backs. Do they just go a pass heavy attack? Like, you can tell yourself the story here for sure. And you got cheap pieces on the Dolphins side. I like the Malik Washington call. I like the Jonnu Smith call. So like, why wouldn't we play this game, I guess is the question. Like, so I was undecided, but I think I might be selling myself on it. Low ownership, 2 competent quarterbacks. You got a guy in Achane where, you know, you can play him with Tua if you want. Tyreek Hill without Waddle, so you have an injury on the Dolphins side. I guess, like, why aren't we playing this game, I guess is the question.
Yeah, I guess that's my
right?
I think we have to.
It's cheap as it's ever been, too. Like, two offenses that are typically way more expensive, this is like the cheapest it's ever been to get these 2 teams together.
If nothing else, leave yourself some sort of late swap options that you can get to it, because in the afternoon, we talked about all these games. There is other options, but if you have a built-in way to get there, this is a spot I'd be interested in. I did see too, it wasn't really news last week. Tidbit for this week was that Tua got his 2 tackles back, so it should be a little bit easier for him there. Some of the stat tidbits that were out of like Tyreek in this matchup looks pretty good. Jonnu as well. And then if you're playing a Malik Washington, I'm fine with it because he's 3,700. He just would fit into that mix. He could maybe make up for some of those lost points on the other guys. And I know it's gross, but like I said, I'm just going to see what happens, man. Debo is no good. There's nothing he can do. I do think a couple things. One, we talked about Grindo going out. He's definitely capable of running the ball for this team and getting end arounds and things like that. If you can get to Jennings, you can get to him. $700 more. But it is interesting when you have, ability with this Malik Washington play and Jonnu Smith play to have money to not need Patrick Taylor, but you do want to get the game pushed. So if you go with Debo, and also Debo, the captain, was getting praised by everybody else too for being one of the guys that just called out the dude that quit on his team and went at him pretty hard. So the team is behind him as always anyway, but I'm saying like just little things like that down the stretch. He needs an opportunity. He deleted the social media post where he was saying, I'm fine, but they're just not giving me the ball. Maybe he gets the ball back and we see the chain getting rocked a little bit today, but I'm interested just from a long time playing DFS experience play. It happens, man. It's just one of those things that happens. So I'll stick to it and play my thoughts there. Title, any other thoughts on this slate or anything else now wrapping it up that we've gone through all these games?
I didn't dig into the story heavy, but the dude just really like, hey, your turn to go in, and he just didn't want to go in. Like he just
play and then I don't know what he thought, if like they were just going to drop him so he could do something else. But like, no, we're going to you try and screw us like that. We're going to screw you the hardest we possibly can. Suspended with no pay for the rest of the season and deal with that. So
as it should be. I mean, you worked your whole life to get to the NFL.
To talk you through it, but bad decision on his part. Very bad.
100%. I mean, that's just crazy. Nothing really more on that one. It's a fun slate. I think the early first 3 games I liked a lot. Then I felt like went through a couple games where not much interest, and then good amount of individual pieces in the afternoon. Again, 4 games in the afternoon, so late swap always big. The FanDuel game, it's in a dome. Cowboys Buccaneers, definitely a game you cannot ignore over there. Again, we'll have the Stone slate plan for FanDuel, everything up. Big Mike going for 1,000 yards. So don't forget about that one. But yeah, very fun slate. Again, roster construction wise, I think it's pretty clear where most are going, and I feel good about this week. I think we see a lot of Ship It Nation logos to the top. I
think so too. And we get the comment every week. Oh, you don't talk about the last game. Can't even hit the 400 likes. Everyone's holding back on the like button. Why would we? But just remember, it could be Max Payne Durham when you go into the night game, because he's the min price on FanDuel over there. So if you are building FanDuel teams, at least keep that in mind. A little Merry Shipmas and happy holidays to you on the way out, you filthy animals. But Hoopster, final thoughts on this slate before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm in on the I talked myself into the last game a little bit there, so I just added some Purdy stuff. Actually, thinking through it, it makes sense. So that's my final decision. Got some clarity. I was able to X out the Eagles Commanders besides Saquon and add in some 49ers Miami. But I agree with you guys. I think it's going to be a good week. Got all our content up, and it will be updated through lock. Not a ton we're waiting on injury-wise either. I mean, NFL's done a really good job this year of getting that information out nice and early. So it makes it less stressful, I guess, on Sunday morning. So not much we're waiting on. Get out there, build some winners. Let's get those Ship It Nation logos to the top of the leaderboard today.
Yeah, you bet. It was what was it? Devondre Campbell was the guy's name. So just keep that in mind. Just real quick, as far as the promos go, put them back up one last time. And a lot of people sign up throughout the show and get involved. So if you want, you can still use BF50. It gets you a month of all access for half price. So $34.50 or $49.50 with Shiptimizer. But if you are going to be with us in the PGA streets, even better than the NFL rest of season deals, those are great deals as well. We just put them up. But if you are going to be with us for PGA, this is by far the best deal. You get $100 off the annual package, whether it's with or without Shiptimizer. Shiptimizer, by the way, for PGA does cover all the showdown slates, round 1, 2, 3, 4. It covers the main slates, everything like that, all that you see up top. But you also will get a free all-access membership through Super Bowl 59. So that's like February 9th or something. I don't know the exact date this year, but it's a while from now. So you're getting a lot more with that if you're going to join anyway. And it's kind of perfect because it just wraps annually to the same time next year. So you'll never be without all the PGA, all the majors, all of that stuff as well. So like Aaron says, shout out to my boy, Aaron Rasmus, getting ready for your golf content coming soon. We got you covered on all that and more. Maybe some more surprises. I don't want to tease other people's things they're working on right now, but a lot of good things coming to Ship It Nation with the PGA streets on top of everything else. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Another Merry Shipments and a happy holidays to all those celebrating each holiday around there. But thank you guys so much for watching. For Hoop, for Title, and for myself, ToeTagginTambo. Let's ship it!